Welcome to this web recording. Due to regional, state, and national directives around COVID-19, we are no longer having countywide community meetings about this project for the time being. To keep the project moving forward, we've provided this recording for you. This web recording is a presentation on objective design and development standards, which are intended to help ensure well-designed multifamily housing is integrated into our communities. We will explain more about what they are and how you can be involved and provide input. My name is Jillian Namath Seiger. I'm a planner in Marin County's Community Development Agency. I'm joined by Stefan Pellegrini, principal at Opticos Design, and Lisa Wise, principal at Lisa Wise Consulting. All of the participating jurisdictions in this project are listed here. Each jurisdiction is doing a range of outreach events in different formats in the coming months, and they're all equal partners and stakeholders in the process. Please visit our website for more detailed frequently asked questions, project updates, and a project description. We also have links to specific jurisdiction websites through the county website to help direct you to your jurisdiction. If you have questions about this presentation, please email housingobjective@marincounty.org or visit our website www.marincounty.org/objective standards. Today we will be discussing the definition of objective design and development standards, why communities should have them and where they would apply, and how they'll be created for Marin, along with a case study in the county and our schedule. So what are objective design and development standards? These standards are quantifiable in nature and can range from parking standards to architectural style. We're developing these standards to apply only to new construction, multifamily, and mixed-use buildings. Several of your jurisdiction zoning codes may already include information such as FAR and setbacks, and these are considered objective standards. Notice how these examples are all quantifiable in nature. There is a way for the public, a planner, a council member, or an applicant to objectively interpret and understand requirements for development. So what are design guidelines and how are they different from objective standards? Several jurisdictions have design guidelines which are meant to help guide new construction. While we can't speak for every jurisdiction, some of the guidelines are too vague, not quantifiable, and require interpretation. Here are some examples from jurisdictions in the Bay Area. None of the ones shown on the screen are objective or quantifiable. Design guidelines are still very useful and will still apply to single-family and some multifamily, depending on how your jurisdiction chooses to apply the objective standards. Additionally, your jurisdiction's existing design guidelines will be used by Opticos as a foundation for the objective standards. So why should cities and towns and Marin County have objective design standards? We're taking a more holistic approach and thinking about how design for multifamily developments in Marin can be high quality. Several pieces of state legislation specify that the only way to deny a project is through objective design standards. Aside from that, we want to be positioned as strongly as possible to effectuate high-quality design. Where would objective design and development standards apply? This will ultimately depend on the jurisdiction. State streamlining, including laws like SB 35 that require ministerial approval, meaning approval without planning or design review board hearings, would benefit from objective design standards as they're the only way to provide regulations that applicants have to follow concerning planning and design. Whereas in non-SB 35 projects, there's a planning commission or a design review board to review and vet the project in a subjective manner. Jurisdictions may also choose to apply objective standards to future housing element sites or other multifamily zoned areas. If you have more questions about this, please discuss with contacts at your local jurisdiction. So where would objective design and development standards not be used? The objective design standards developed as part of this project will not apply to single-family zoned sites. If a project requires a general plan or zoning amendment, for example, if there's a change in zoning on the site or a change in density as per a general or community plan, objective design standards will not be used to substitute the traditional planning process. However, they can still be helpful to the applicant and design review boards. If a project is located in a very high fire hazard severity zone, it is most likely not applicable under streamlining acts. Additionally, if a project would result in one or more significant public health and safety impacts, it would not qualify to be approved through a ministerial process. So how do objective design and development standards relate to new state laws? New state laws are trending more and more towards ministerial review for projects, meaning there is no discretionary approval by any bodies, including design review or planning commissions. In many cases, including SB 35, the objective design and development standards may be the only way for local jurisdictions to influence design in their communities where a ministerial process is necessary.
Thanks, Jillian. This is Stefan Pellegrini, Principal at Opticos Design, and I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the approach that we'll be taking to create objective design standards in Marin County and the participating jurisdictions. The project is divided into 3 phases, which will occur over the course of about a year. Phases 1 and 2 are already underway. Elements of phases 1 and 2 include an existing conditions analysis that starts to look at the physical locations and characteristics of the sites where the objective design standards may be applied. The countywide survey, aimed at gathering some initial public input on preferences, and the place and building types atlas that will demonstrate how different jurisdictions share qualities and buildings that can be coded into the template. Individual jurisdictions may do additional work to analyze projects that demonstrate desirable infill prototypes and site testing that will help to inform the template and how it can be applied to individual sites in their respective communities. Work on the existing condition analysis has already begun, working closely with the planning directors. The existing conditions analysis starts to catalog the different locations in each jurisdiction where the template may be applied ultimately, and analyzes the context and characteristics of these sites.
Thank you, Stefan. I'm Lisa Wise. We're super excited to release the survey. It's the first opportunity for the public to participate in the process. The objectives of the survey are to gather community input on preferences for multifamily infill development and to identify challenges and opportunities that can be addressed in the project. The survey will be released next week, the week of April 6th, and will be available for 30 days. We hope everyone responds. There's a link to the countywide survey on the slide. There are a few jurisdictions releasing separate surveys. You'll be directed to those at the end of the countywide survey. Please participate. It should only take 10 or 15 minutes of your time.
Following the existing conditions, the place types and building types atlas will demonstrate how Marin County environments share characteristics across jurisdictions, and thus will be used to show how and where the template may apply. Marin communities are all unique, but they share qualities and physical characteristics that can be coded into the template. The atlas will also demonstrate how standards for building types can be applied to Marin County environments, with an emphasis on what we refer to as missing middle housing, house-scaled multifamily buildings that are designed to be compatible and context-sensitive with single-family neighborhoods and commercial environments in Marin. The atlas will help to inform the template, which will provide a series of objective zone districts and supplemental standards, including architectural standards and guidelines that can be applied across a spectrum of environments in the county. The template will also provide guidance on how local jurisdictions might modify their review procedures to accommodate by right or streamlined housing projects. Once the template is released, the team will work with individual jurisdictions to apply and adopt applicable portions of the template locally through tailored community engagement and public hearings. The Objective Design Standards template will be presented in a format that is easy to use and interpret, incorporating graphic standards through clear diagrams and easy to read tables. Architectural standards will also be addressed and will include elements such as building massing and composition, openings, and exterior elements, and building frontages. Additional standards related to architectural styles and expressions will be tailored to individual jurisdictions at their request. Now I will take you through a case study that was prepared in the city of Novato that shows an example of how objective design standards can be used in multifamily and mixed-use environments. The Northwest neighborhood is a 50-acre neighborhood adjacent to downtown Novato. It is a mixed multifamily and single-family environment. An objective design standards zone district was created to resolve an inconsistency between the existing general plan, which allowed densities up to 20 dwelling units to the acre, and the current zoning, which is limited only at 10 dwelling units to the acre. A zone district was created, which will be ready to adopt once the city completes its ongoing general plan update. One of the problems with the Northwest neighborhood is that multifamily buildings introduced in the 1960s and 1970s were largely incompatible with the historic fabric of mostly single-family homes that were built at the turn of the century. Some of these buildings exceeded 20 dwelling units to the acre, but many actually were compliant with the general plan zoning designations. However, the multifamily buildings were seen as out of scale and out of context. Primary goal of the objective design standards for this neighborhood were to create a more compatible building envelope that would allow multifamily buildings that achieve the general plan density that would be smaller and more sensitive to the single family context. The zone district standards were created through a detailed analysis of what's allowed today and some recommendations and adjustments to ensure that the zoning envelope could be more compatible. This slide demonstrates how the existing zoning envelope, which allowed up to 3 stories in height, could be modified to establish a 2.5-story envelope that actually might be more compatible with the scale and context of adjacent single-family homes. The template also provides an opportunity to look at more detailed ways that buildings orient to their neighbors and to the street, including how parking is located and treated, and how building frontages, such as porches and stoops, can be integrated into buildings to, again, make them compatible and more context sensitive with single-family neighbors. As I mentioned previously, the project began in December of 2019, and phases 1 and 2 are currently underway. Once the atlas and template have been completed under the guidance of the planning directors, individual jurisdictions will start work to apply the template locally in phase 3. Please be on the lookout for upcoming opportunities for community input starting later this summer and this fall for this purpose. And please stay informed by visiting the county's website for project information, frequently asked questions, and project updates, including the upcoming survey. And any questions regarding the project and this presentation can be directed to housingobjective@marincounty.org. Thank you.